Tonight, before sleep slowly finds you, just breathe for a moment. Slowly. You do not need to carry everything from today into tomorrow. Some nights feel heavier than others, and maybe this has been one of those nights. Maybe your body feels exhausted. Maybe your body feels exhausted, but your mind, still room is quiet, but your thoughts are still loud. You replay still loud. You replay conversations. You think about tomorrow. You think about things you should have said, or things you wish had gone differently. And sometimes, the harder you try to sleep, the more awake your heart feels. But tonight, you are not alone in this darkness. God is still here, still listening, still watching over you. The book of Psalms says, "In peace I will lie down and sleep. For you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety." Safety, that is what tired hearts need most at night. Not pressure, not endless answers. Just safety, just peace, just still holding your life together. Maybe lately, life has felt emotionally heavy. You keep going during the day. You keep functioning. You keep functioning. You keep carrying responsibilities. But inside, part of you feels tired in ways words cannot fully explain. And nighttime often makes that exhaustion feel even louder. Because once the world becomes quiet, the hidden fears inside us finally begin speaking. Fear of tomorrow, fear of uncertainty, fear of failure, fear of losing people we love. And maybe part of your heart has been carrying those fears silently for a long time. But God sees every hidden burden, every anxious thought, every quiet tear, every moment where your soul felt overwhelmed. And somehow, He still stays close with gentleness. The Psalms say, "When I am afraid, I put my trust in you." Not when life becomes perfect, not when I finally stop struggling, but when I am afraid, because God understands tired hearts. He understands anxious nights. He understands how difficult life can sometimes feel. And tonight, He is still near you. Even now, even in this silent room, even while your thoughts continue wandering, the Psalms say, "He who watches over you will neither slumber nor sleep." Think about that softly tonight, while your body slowly grows tired. God remains awake beside you, while the world becomes quiet. God remains steady, while fear tries to keep your heart restless. God remains peaceful, and maybe tonight, instead of trying to control every tomorrow, your soul simply needs permission to rest, to stop carrying every burden alone, to stop preparing for every possible fear, to stop holding your breath emotionally. Because right now, you are safe enough to breathe again. The rain may still fall outside. The night may still feel long, but God is still with you here, still faithful, still calm, still holding your life gently in His hands. So let your breathing slow little by little, in and out. Let your shoulders soften. Let your thoughts drift farther away. You do not need to force peace tonight. You do not need to force sleep. Just rest quietly here and allow your tired soul to remember this simple truth. You are not facing this night alone. God is still watching over you, and you are safe enough to rest. Sometimes, the hardest part of the night is not the darkness outside. It is the noise inside your own mind. The endless thinking, the replaying, the worrying, the feeling that your thoughts simply will not slow down no matter how tired you are. And maybe tonight, that is exactly where you are. You close your eyes, but your mind keeps moving. One fear becomes another. One memory leads into the next. And before you realize it, your heart feels restless again. But tonight, you do not need to chase every thought that enters your mind. You do not need to solve your entire future before sleep comes, because God is already standing inside tomorrow, already present in the future you fear, already holding the things you cannot control tonight. The Psalms say, "Be still before the Lord. Be still," not because life suddenly became easy, not because every problem disappeared, but because God remains faithful. Even in uncertain nights, even in anxious nights, even in lonely nights. And maybe your soul has been tired for longer than you realize. Not only physically tired, emotionally tired, mentally tired, spiritually tired. The kind of tiredness that quietly builds over time. You keep carrying responsibilities. You keep trying to stay strong. You keep telling yourself to hold on a little longer. But sometimes, the heart simply becomes exhausted from carrying too much for too long. And God sees that exhaustion completely. The Psalms say, "Cast your burden on the Lord, and He will sustain you." Sustain you, carry you, hold you together gently when your strength feels small. And maybe tonight, that is what your soul truly needs. Not more pressure, not more pressure, not more striving, just rest, deep, quiet rest. The kind where your breathing slowly softens again. The kind where your mind no longer feels forced to stay alert every second. Because fear can make people feel like they must always prepare for the worst. Always stay ready. Always. Always stay guarded. But tonight, God is inviting your heart into peace again. Slowly, patiently, like calm rain falling through the darkness, like candlelight glowing softly in a quiet room. The Psalms say, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." A shepherd watches carefully through the night. A shepherd protects tired sheep while they rest. And maybe tonight, your soul needs that image deeply, because sheep only sleep when they feel safe, when someone trustworthy is near, when fear no longer controls the night. And perhaps that is what God wants your heart to feel right now. Safe, held, protected, not abandoned inside the darkness, not forgotten during difficult seasons, not alone with your fears anymore. Even now, while the night stretches quietly around you, God remains close beside you. still listening, still caring, still holding your life together carefully. The Psalms say, "He restores my soul." Not pressure, not endless emotional exhaustion, not isha, not emotional exhaustion. Your tired soul is finally beginning to feel that restoration, little by little. Little pressures, breath by breath, thought by thought, moment by moment. So let your shoulders soften again. Let your heartbeat slow. Let your thoughts drift farther away into the quiet. You do not need to force peace tonight. You only need to rest beneath the care of God. Because while the world slowly sleeps, God remains awake beside you, faithful, steady, calm. And tonight, you are still safely held in His presence. There is something about the middle of the night that makes loneliness feel heavier. During the day, people stay distracted. There is movement, conversation, noise, responsibilities. But deep into the night, everything becomes quiet enough for the heart to finally speak honestly. And maybe tonight, your heart feels more tired than anyone around you realizes. Maybe you have been carrying silent stress for so long that you no longer remember what real peace feels like. You continue showing up. You continue functioning. You continue smiling when necessary. But underneath all of it, your soul feels exhausted. And nighttime has a way of revealing that exhaustion clearly. Because once the distractions disappear, fear becomes louder, loneliness becomes louder, the future becomes heavier, and maybe part of you feels emotionally worn down from trying to carry too much for too long. But tonight, God is still here beside you, even in this quiet darkness, even in this exhausted moment. The Psalms say, "The Lord is near to all who call on Him." Near, not distant, not absent, near. And maybe that is what your heart needs most tonight. Not perfect answers, not instant solutions, just the reminder that God has not stepped away from your life. Even now, while the world sleeps, He remains awake beside you. The Psalms say, "He who watches over Israel will neither slumber." That truly is. Think about how comforting. Human beings become tired. People leave. People forget. People fail each other sometimes. People fail each other sometimes. But God never falls asleep while caring for you, never becomes distracted, never overlooks your pain, never abandons you during difficult nights. And perhaps tonight, your soul desperately needs that kind of steady presence. The future can feel unclear, and sometimes the weight of carrying invisible worries becomes emotionally overwhelming. You try not to think about it during the day, but late at night, those fears return again. Fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of becoming emotionally exhausted forever. Fear that things may never truly get better. And yet, even inside those fears, God remains calm, steady, unshaken. The Psalms say, "God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble, ever present, even during sleepless nights, even during anxious thoughts, even during moments when your heart feels emotionally fragile. God remains close through all of it. Sometimes, people become so used to carrying stress that their hearts forget how to rest. The body lies how to rest. But the mind keeps preparing for danger. The heart keeps expecting disappointment. The soul stays tense, even in silence. And maybe that has quietly been happening inside you too. But tonight, God is gently inviting your heart out of survival mode, out of fear, out of constant emotional tension, and back into peace. Not dramatic peace, not dramatic peace, not temporary distraction, but deep, quiet peace. The kind that slowly settles over tired souls, little by little, the Psalms say. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. Restoration. What beautiful words for an exhausted heart. Because maybe your soul does not need more pressure tonight. Restoration. Restoration simply needs restoration. Restoration from emotional exhaustion. Restoration from carrying invisible burdens too long. And God still knows how to bring that restoration gently. Even now. Even tonight. Maybe part of your exhaustion comes from feeling like you must always stay strong. Always hold everything together. Always keep moving forward no matter how heavy life feels. But tonight, you do not need to carry everything alone anymore. But tonight, God never asked you to survive life without Him. The Psalms say, "Cast your cares on the Lord, and He will sustain you." Sustain you, carry you, hold you together when your strength feels small. And maybe, tonight, your tired soul finally needs permission to rest inside that truth. Because God remains steady, while your heart slowly softens. While your heart slowly softens, God remains faithful. While this quiet night stretches around you, God remains close beside you, still protecting your life, still guiding your future, still holding your heart carefully through every silent hour ahead. So let your breathing slow again now, in and out. Let your thoughts drift farther away. Let your heart unclench, little by little, and as sleep slowly begins drawing near. May your soul remember this gentle truth. You are not abandoned in the darkness. God is still with you tonight. Some people become exhausted very slowly, not through one terrible moment, but through months, sometimes years, of quietly carrying too much. A little stress every day, a little disappointment every week, a little fear every night, until eventually, the soul no longer remembers what peace used to feel like, and maybe tonight, that is where your heart has been living, trying to stay strong for everyone else, trying to keep functioning normally, trying to hide how emotionally overwhelmed you truly feel inside. But God already sees the exhaustion you never talk about. He sees the heaviness behind your smile. He sees the silent pressure inside your chest. He sees the moments where you feel emotionally drained, but still force yourself to keep moving forward anyway. And somehow, He remains gentle with you through all of it. The Psalms say, "The Lord is compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in love." Compassionate, not harsh, not impatient, not disappointed that you feel tired. Compassionate, and maybe tonight, your exhausted soul desperately, desperately needs that kind of gentleness. Because life can harden people quietly. Fear hardens people. Stress hardens people. Disappointment hardens people. People become emotionally guarded, emotionally distant, emotionally tired, and sometimes they carry those hidden burdens so long that rest itself starts feeling unfamiliar. But tonight, God is inviting your heart back into peace again, not forcefully, not suddenly, but slowly, patiently. The way calm rain softens dry ground through the night. The Psalms say, "Return to your rest, my soul, for the Lord has been good to you." Return to rest. What beautiful words. Because perhaps your soul has wandered far from rest lately. Maybe your thoughts have stayed tense for too long. Maybe your heart has remained guarded for too long. Maybe fear has quietly become your normal state. But fear was never meant to become your permanent home. God created your soul for peace too. And even now, while this quiet night surrounds you, He is still leading your tired heart gently back toward that peace. Maybe part of your exhaustion comes from carrying responsibilities nobody else fully understands. That comes from always trying to hold everything together. Always trying not to disappoint people. Always trying to stay emotionally strong. But human hearts were never designed to carry endless pressure alone. Eventually, the soul begins growing weary. The Psalms say, "My flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart, even when your strength feels small. God remains steady. Even when your thoughts feel heavy, God remains faithful. Even when you feel emotionally exhausted, God still stays close beside you. And maybe tonight, that is the truth your heart needs more than anything else. Not more pressure, not more striving, just the quiet reassurance that God is still carrying you through this season of life. The Psalms say, "The Lord upholds all who fall and lifts up all who are bowed down." Tonight, if your heart feels bowed down, God is still lifting you gently. If your soul feels tired, God is still strengthening you quietly. If your mind feels restless, God is still protecting your peace. And while the world slowly sleeps tonight, God remains awake beside you, still watching over your life, still holding your future carefully, still guiding you through roads you cannot yet fully see. So let your breathing soften again, now, in and out. Let your shoulders rest. Let your thoughts become quieter, little by little. You do not need to carry every burden through the night anymore. You do not need to keep surviving alone, because tonight, God is still here beside you, calm, faithful, steady, and your tired soul is still safely held in his hands. Nighttime can make people feel vulnerable. The darkness feels deeper. The silence feels heavier. And sometimes, the mind begins imagining fears that seemed smaller during the day. Maybe tonight your heart feels vulnerable too. Not physically exhausted alone, but emotionally exposed. Has been carrying invisible fears quietly for too long, and perhaps part of you has become tired of always trying to stay emotionally strong, tired of overthinking, tired of carrying pressure, tired of wondering whether things will ever truly feel peaceful again. But tonight, God is still watching over you, even now. Even during this quiet hour of the night, the Psalms say, I lie down and sleep. I wake again, because the Lord sustains me, not abandons me, not forgets me, sustains me, carries me gently through the night. And maybe tonight, your exhausted soul needs to hear those words slowly. Because human beings were never meant to carry life entirely on their own. Eventually, fear becomes too heavy. Stress becomes too heavy. Loneliness becomes too heavy. And the heart quietly begins searching for safety again. The Psalms say, He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. What a peaceful image! Not fear, not judgment, not distance, refuge, protection. Rest, like someone finally becoming safe enough to sleep. That is exactly what your soul-exhausting journey, and perhaps tonight, that is exactly what your soul has been longing for. Not more noise, not more pressure, just refuge, just peace, just the quiet reassurance that God is still near. Sometimes, people become so emotionally overwhelmed. The body feels tired. The body feels tired, but the heart stays alert. The mind keeps expecting for problems. The soul keeps expecting disappointment. And eventually, people forget what true peace even feels like. But tonight, God is gently calming your heart again, little by little, breath by breath. The Psalms say, the Lord gives strength to His people. The Lord blesses His people with peace. Peace, not panic, not endless emotional exhaustion. Peace. And maybe that peace is already beginning to settle quietly over you now. Not all at once, but slowly. The way soft rain slowly covers dry ground during the night. Maybe part of your fear comes from not knowing what tomorrow will bring. You wonder about the future. You wonder whether life will become harder. You wonder whether you are strong enough to handle everything ahead. But tonight, God is already standing inside tomorrow, already holding what feels uncertain tonight, already guiding roads you cannot yet fully see. The Psalms say, the Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. Both now and forevermore. That means you are not walking into the future alone. God goes before you. God walks beside you. God remains behind you. protecting, guiding, watching over your life with constant care. And because of that, you do not need to spend this night afraid. You do not need to carry tomorrow before morning arrives. You can rest now, fully, quietly, safely, because while the world slowly sleeps, God remains awake beside you, still faithful, still calm, still protecting your life, still holding your tired heart, gently, through every silent hour ahead. So let your breathing become slower now, in and out. Let your thoughts drift farther away. Let your heart soften. And as sleep slowly begins wrapping around you tonight, may your soul rest deeply inside this truth. God is still watching over you, and you are safe enough to sleep. Some fears become stronger at night because nighttime removes distractions during the day. People stay busy enough to avoid certain thoughts. But once the world grows quiet, the mind slowly returns to the things it fears most, the future. Uncertainty, the possibility of pain, and maybe tonight, your heart has been carrying quiet fears about tomorrow. But you wonder whether things will work out. You wonder whether life will become heavier. You wonder how much longer you can keep carrying everything without feeling overwhelmed. And slowly, those fears begin stealing peace from your soul. But tonight, God is reminding you gently that the future does not belong to fear. The future still belongs to Him. The Psalms say, "Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path." A lamp does not reveal the entire road at once. It gives enough light for the next step. And maybe that is exactly how God leads tired hearts. Not by explaining every detail immediately, but by remaining faithful through each uncertain moment ahead. Sometimes, people become emotionally exhausted because they keep trying to control outcomes they were never meant to carry alone. They replay possibilities endlessly. They imagine disasters before they happen. They prepare emotionally for pain that may never arrive. And eventually, their souls become tired from living in constant anticipation of fear. But tonight, you do not need to carry tomorrow before tomorrow arrives. Because God is already there, you can ahead of you, already standing inside the future you cannot yet see, already preparing grace for moments you have not even reached yet. The Psalms say, "The Lord is my refuge. I will trust in Him." Trust, not certainty, trust. Because peace does not come from controlling every outcome. Peace, even when life feels, remains faithful. And maybe tonight, your exhausted heart simply needs permission to release some of that fear. To stop trying to predict every possible problem. To stop carrying invisible pressure through the night. To stop preparing emotionally for disasters that have not happened. Because God never asked you to survive life through fear. He invites your soul into peace instead. The Psalms say, "Be still and know that I am God. Be still, not because every answer suddenly appeared, not because the future became perfectly clear, but because God remains steady, even when the future feels uncertain. And perhaps tonight, that steady presence is exactly what your soul needs most. Not more control, not more overthinking, just the quiet reminder that God is already holding tomorrow safely in His hands. Maybe right now, there are situations in your life you cannot fix. There are questions you cannot answer, roads you cannot clearly see. And maybe part of your exhaustion comes from carrying all those unknowns alone for too long. But listen carefully tonight. God has never abandoned His people inside uncertain seasons. Never. Not once. Even during long nights, even during painful looked frightening, even during seasons where the future looked frightening, God remained faithful through all of it. And He remains faithful tonight too. The Psalms say, I remain confident of this. I will see the goodness of the Lord. What beautiful words for a tired heart. Not confidence in circumstances, not confidence in human strength, confidence in God Himself. And maybe tonight, your soul needs that kind of quiet confidence. Again, not loud confidence, gentle confidence, the kind that whispers softly in the darkness. God will still protect me tomorrow. God will still remain beside me tomorrow. And because of that, you do not need to spend this night afraid anymore. You do not need to force certainty into an uncertain future. You do not need to carry the entire weight of tomorrow alone. God is already there ahead of you, already working quietly in ways you cannot yet understand, already protecting your life even while you sleep. So let your breathing soften again now, in and out. Let your shoulders rest. Let your thoughts grow quieter, little by little. The future is still safely held by God. And while this quiet night slowly deepens around you, He remains close beside you, steady, faithful, calm, watching over your life through every uncertain moment ahead. So tonight, rest here for a while. Rest without fear. Rest without pressure. Rest knowing this simple truth. Tomorrow is still safely in God's hands. Sometimes people become tired in ways nobody else can clearly see. Not physically tired alone, but deeply tired inside. The kind of exhaustion that slowly builds after carrying stress, fear, and disappointment for too long. And maybe tonight, your soul feels that kind of weariness. You keep trying to move forward. You keep handling responsibility. You keep pretending everything is manageable. But deep down, part of your heart feels overwhelmed, and nighttime has a way of making that exhaustion feel even heavier. Because once the world becomes quiet, there is nothing left to distract the soul anymore. Only silence, only thoughts, only the hidden fears people spend all day trying to ignore. But tonight, God still sees every burden you have been carrying, every hidden ache, every restless thought, every silent moment where you felt emotionally drained. And somehow, He remains gentle with you. Through all of it, the Psalms say, "The Lord is compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in love." Compassionate. What a comforting word for exhausted hearts. Because maybe part of your fear has been wondering whether God feels disappointed in you. Disappointed that you feel tired. Disappointed that you struggle with anxiety. Disappointed that peace feels difficult sometimes, far more gently. But God understands human weakness far more gently than we often understand ourselves. He knows how fragile hearts become after carrying too much for too long. And tonight, He is not moving away from your exhaustion. He is moving closer to it. The Psalms say, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted." Close. Not distant. Not absent. Close. Even now. Even during this quiet night. Even while your thoughts continue wandering. And perhaps tonight. That is exactly what your tired soul needs most. Not pressure to become stronger immediately. Not shame for feeling emotionally overwhelmed. Just closeness. Just peace. Just the quiet reassurance that God has not abandoned you inside this difficult season. Sometimes, life changes people slowly. Disappointment changes people. Stress changes people. Fear changes people. And eventually, people become emotionally itself from more pain. People become emotionally guarded, emotionally tired, emotionally distant. Even hope begins feeling exhausting sometimes. But tonight, God is still able to reach tired hearts gently, still able to restore peace slowly, still able to calm fear little by little, the Psalms say. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Healing, not rushing, not condemning. Healing. And maybe tonight, your soul needs healing more than answers. Healing from fear. Healing from exhaustion. Healing from carrying invisible pain too long. Healing from nights spent overthinking everything alone, and God still knows how to bring that healing quietly, like calm rain, slowly softening hard ground, like warm light entering a dark room, like finally exhaling after holding your breath emotionally for too long. Finally, maybe tonight, you have been feeling pressure to keep holding everything together, to keep surviving, to keep pretending you are okay. But God never asked your heart to carry life without Him. The Psalms say, "Cast your cares on the Lord, and He will sustain you, strengthen you when your soul feels weak." And maybe tonight, your exhausted heart finally needs alone, needs permission to stop carrying every burden alone. Because while your strength feels limited, God remains steady. While your thoughts feel restless, your thoughts feel restless. God remains peaceful. While your soul feels weary, God remains faithful, and even now, while the night slowly deepens around you, He is still holding your life carefully, still guiding your future through every quiet hour ahead. Sidra, so let your breathing soften again now, in and out. Let your thoughts become quieter. Little by little, let your shoulders finally rest. You do not need to survive this night through fear anymore. You do not need to carry every burden alone anymore. Because tonight, God is still near the weary heart, still near your heart, and you are still safely held in His love. Sometimes, people become so emotionally exhausted that they stop knowing how to explain what they feel. Nothing feels completely wrong, but nothing feels peaceful either. The heart feels heavy. The mind feels tired, and even small things begin requiring too much quietly been living. Maybe tonight, that is where your soul has quietly been living. While carrying invisible exhaustion, nobody else fully sees. You wake up tired. You move through the day tired. And late at night, when everything becomes silent again, the heaviness returns. The Psalms say, "My soul is weary with sorrow. Strengthen me according to your word." Even faithful hearts become weary. What honest words! Because sometimes, even hopeful people become emotionally exhausted. Even strong people quietly reach moments where they feel overwhelmed. And God understands that completely tonight. You do not need to hide your exhaustion from Him. You do not need to pretend your faith is stronger than your pain. You do not need perfect prayers. God already sees every hidden struggle inside your heart. And somehow, He still stays close with gentleness, the Psalms say. The Lord upholds all who fall, upholds, supports, carries, holds together. Even when your strength feels small, even when your emotions feel fragile, even when your thoughts feel too heavy to carry alone anymore. And maybe, tonight, your soul deeply needs that kind of support. Not pressure, not more striving. Just support, just rest, just the quiet reassurance that God is still carrying you through this season. Sometimes, people become so used to surviving that peace begins feeling unfamiliar. The body rests, but the soul stays tense. The mind keeps waiting for bad news. And eventually, fear quietly becomes normal. Fear never meant to become normal, but fear was never meant to become your permanent home. God created your soul for peace too. The Psalms say you will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are stayed on you. Perfect peace, not temporary escape, not distraction. Peace, peace. The kind of peace that slowly calms exhausted hearts. The kind of peace that reminds people they are no longer alone inside their fear. And maybe tonight, that peace is already beginning to settle quietly over you. Little by little, not all at once, but gently, like soft rain through the darkness. like warm light filling an empty room, like finally loosening your grip, after carrying too much for too long. Maybe lately, you have been afraid to fully rest emotionally, afraid that if you stop worrying, everything might fall apart. But tonight, God is still holding your life together, even while you rest. The Psalms say, "The Lord gives strength to his people. The Lord blesses his people with peace." Peace, that word matters deeply tonight, because tired souls need peace before they can truly sleep. Not answers for every problem, not complete control over tomorrow. Just peace, the quiet kind, the steady kind, the kind that slowly whispers to fearful hearts, "You are still safe." And perhaps tonight, your exhausted soul needs to hear that again and again. You are still safe. God is still near. God is still faithful. God is still watching over you. Even now, even tonight, even during this long, quiet darkness. So let your breathing soften once more, in and out. Let your thoughts drift farther away. Let your shoulders finally rest. You do not need to keep fighting every fear tonight. You do not need to keep carrying every burden alone. Because while the world slowly sleeps, God remains awake beside you. Still calm, still faithful, still holding your weary heart carefully through every silent hour ahead, and as sleep slowly begins wrapping around you tonight. May your soul finally rest deeply inside this truth. You are still loved, still protected, still carried gently by God. There are certain kinds of loneliness that only appear late at night, during the day. People can hide from them. There is noise, movement, responsibilities, distractions everywhere, but deep into the night. When the world finally becomes quiet, the heart begins feeling everything more deeply. And maybe tonight, part of you feels lonely in ways you rarely explain to anyone else or ask him. Not because nobody exists around you, but because your soul feels unseen, unheard, emotionally distant from the world around you. And sometimes that kind of loneliness hurts the most. The kind people carry silently, the kind hidden behind normal conversations, small smiles, and sees daily routines. But tonight, God still sees the loneliness inside your heart, every part of it. The Psalms say, "Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil. For you are with me. For you are with me." What comforting words for quiet nights like this. Because sometimes the darkness feels heavier when people believe they are facing it alone. But tonight, you are not alone in this exhaustion. Not alone in this exhaustion. Not alone in these thoughts. God is still here beside you. Even now, even during this silent hour. Maybe lately, your heart has felt emotionally isolated. You keep trying to stay strong. You keep trying not to burden other people with your struggles. You keep carrying your fears quietly by yourself, but the soul becomes tired when it feels unseen for too long. You keep, and perhaps tonight, your exhaustion is not only physical. Perhaps your heart is simply tired of feeling alone inside everything. The Psalms say, "The Lord is close to the broken-hearted." Close. Not distant, not absent. Close. Even during nights where your heart feels fragile. Even during moments where fear feels louder than hope. Even during seasons where peace feels difficult to hold on to. God remains near through all of it. Sometimes. The night makes people remember painful things. Old memories, old wounds, moments they wish had never happened. And once those thoughts begin returning, sleep suddenly feels far away. But tonight, God is not afraid of your memories. He is not overwhelmed by your pain. He is not uncomfortable. He is not uncomfortable with your sadness. He remains gentle through all of it. The Psalms say, "You have kept count of my tears. Every tear, every hidden ache, every silent moment where your soul felt emotionally exhausted. God has seen all of it with compassion, and somehow He still stays beside you with love." Maybe tonight, your heart has been quietly asking one question. Does anyone truly see how tired I am? And the answer is yes. God sees it completely. He sees the nights you stayed awake. He sees the moments where fear felt overwhelming. He sees the loneliness you hide from other people. And He has never once looked away from you, the Psalms say. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Ever-present. Even now, even tonight, present. Even night, even while this long, quiet darkness stretches around you. God remains here, steady, faithful, calm. Sometimes, people become so used to carrying loneliness that they stop believing peace is possible again. But peace is still possible tonight, not because life suddenly became perfect, but because God remains beside you. Inside imperfect seasons. And maybe tonight, your soul simply needs permission to stop carrying loneliness alone. To stop pretending you are okay all the time. To stop holding every fear silently inside yourself. Because God is already sitting beside you, here in the darkness, still listening, still comforting, still watching over your life carefully. The Psalms say, "I will both lie down in peace and sleep. For you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety." Safety, that is what lonely hearts truly long for. Not noise, not distraction. Safety, the feeling that someone trustworthy is still near. And tonight, God is still near. Closer than your fear, closer than your sadness, closer than the loneliness resting quietly inside your chest. So let your breathing slow once again, in and out. Let your thoughts soften. Let your heart rest. You do not need to survive this night alone anymore. Because while the world slowly sleeps, God remains awake beside you. Still faithful, still gentle, still holding your weary heart through every silent hour ahead. And as sleep slowly begins finding you tonight, may your soul rest deeply inside this truth. You are seen, you are loved, and you are never truly alone. Sometimes, people become so used to carrying everything alone that they forget what it feels like to truly rest. They carry responsibilities. They carry fear. They carry pressure. They carry silent emotional weight nobody else fully sees. And eventually, the soul becomes exhausted from trying to hold everything together all the time. Maybe tonight. That is where your heart has quietly arrived. Tired of overthinking. Tired of trying to control every outcome. Tired of staying emotionally strong every single day. And perhaps part of you feels afraid that if you stop holding everything together, everything might fall apart. But tonight, God is gently reminding your soul of something important. You were never meant to carry the entire weight of life yourself. The Psalms say, "Cast your cares on the Lord, and He will sustain you. Sustain you, not judge you for feeling tired, not shame you for struggling. Sustain you. Carry you gently when your strength begins running low. And maybe tonight, your exhausted soul deeply needs that kind of support. Because some burdens become too heavy for human hearts alone. Our fear becomes heavy. Uncertainty becomes heavy. Trying to control tomorrow becomes heavy. And eventually, people begin living in constant emotional tension without even realizing it anymore. But tonight, God is inviting your heart to loosen its grip, little by little, breath by breath. The Psalms say, "Be still." Not because every problem suddenly disappeared, but because one man disappeared. Not because life became perfectly easy, but because God remains steady, even when your life feels uncertain. And perhaps tonight, your soul needs that steady presence more than perfect answers, because maybe you have spent too long trying to carry things. Only God was meant to hold the future. Other people was meant to hold the future. Outcomes you cannot control, fear about what might happen next, and all of it slowly exhausted your heart. But God never asked you to become the savior of your own life. He asked you to trust Him through it. The Psalms say, "The Lord is my refuge. I will trust in Him." Trust, that word matters deeply tonight, because trust is what allows exhausted hearts to finally rest again. Not total certainty, not complete control. Trust. The quiet confidence that God still sees the road ahead clearly, even when you do not. Sometimes, fear convinces people they must stay emotionally alert at all times. Always expecting for bad news, always expecting disappointment, always carrying invisible tension through every moment of the day. But tonight, you do not need to live that way anymore. God is still protecting your life while you rest, still guiding your future while you sleep, still working quietly in places you cannot yet fully see. The Psalms say, "The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." What peaceful words for tired hearts. You need not force be still, not panic, not hold the entire future together alone. Are you just rest, just breathe, just allow God to carry what feels too heavy tonight? Maybe right now, your soul feels emotionally worn down from trying to survive everything through your own strength. But God never intended your heart to live without peace. He still wants rest for you, still wants calm for you, still wants your weary soul to feel safe again. And even now, while this quiet night surrounds you, He remains beside you faithfully, still listening, still caring, still holding your life carefully through every uncertain moment ahead. So let your breathing soften again now, in and out. Let your shoulders relax. Let your thoughts become quieter, little by little. You do not need to hold everything together tonight. God is already holding you. And while the world slowly sleeps, He remains awake beside you, steady, faithful, peaceful, carrying the burdens your tired heart no longer needs to carry alone. So rest now, rest without fear, rest without pressure. Rest, knowing this simple truth: God is still in control, and you are still safely held in His hands. The night is quieter now. Your breathing is slower. Your thoughts are softer than before, and maybe for the first time today, your soul is finally beginning to loosen its grip on fear. Not perfectly, not completely, but little by little. And tonight, that is enough. You do not need to solve your entire life before sleep comes. You do not need to carry every burden through the darkness. You do not need to keep preparing for every possible tomorrow, because God is still near you now. The Psalms say, "The Lord is near to all who call on Him," near, even during sleepless nights, even during anxious thoughts, even during seasons where your heart feels emotionally exhausted. God remains near through all of it. And maybe tonight, your soul simply needs to rest inside that truth for a while. Not analyze it. Not force yourself to feel stronger. Just rest inside it quietly. God is near, still faithful, still watching over your life carefully. Sometimes, people become so used to fear that peace begins feeling unfamiliar. The mind keeps racing. The heart stays tense. The soul keeps preparing for disappointment. And eventually, rest itself starts feeling difficult. But tonight, you are allowed to rest again, allowed to breathe deeply again, allowed to stop carrying everything alone again. The Psalms say, "All who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Rest. What beautiful words for tired hearts. Because maybe your soul has spent too long trying to survive without resting deeply. Too long carrying invisible emotional weight. Too long staying mentally alert. Too long trying to hold yourself together through fear. But tonight, God is not asking you to fight anymore. He is gently asking you to rest. Rest your thoughts. Rest your fears. Rest your exhausted heart. And let His peace slowly cover the places for too long, that have felt restless for too long. Maybe right now, your body is tired, but your mind still feels awake. That happens sometimes, especially after difficult seasons, especially after carrying stress for too long. But tonight, you do not need to force your mind into silence. You only need to rest quietly in the presence of God, because peace often arrives gently, slowly, slowly, softly, like rain falling through the darkness, like candlelight glowing inside a quiet room, like someone trustworthy staying beside you through the night. The Psalms say, "In peace I will lie down and sleep, for you alone, Lord. Make me dwell in safety." Safety. That is what your soul is searching for tonight. Not perfect control, not perfect certainty. Safety. The quiet feeling that God still holds your life carefully, even while you rest. And He does. Even now, even tonight, even during this long, quiet darkness, God remains awake beside you, still protecting your future, still guiding your steps, still holding your weary heart gently in His hands. So breathe slowly, once more, in and out. Let your shoulders soften. Let your thoughts drift farther away. You are safe tonight. God is still near. You are not alone. God is still watching over you. Rest now, slowly, peacefully, quietly, and as sleep finally begins wrapping around you tonight, may your soul rest deeply inside this gentle truth. God is still here, and He is not leaving you.